Hey guys, it's Scott with Scottie B Cards, and in this video I want to talk about the different ways that people collect baseball cards. I don't think the entire spectrum of baseball card collecting gets discussed very often on YouTube or any type of social media content, so I wanted to discuss all the different types of collectors and what makes them special in this hobby and why they're important in this hobby. So in this video I've recruited some of my favorite specific niche collectors, you could say, and I want them to share the reason they collect and why. I'm going to share the reason I collect what I collect and why as well, but I want to make sure that you understand that if you're new to this hobby, there's more than one way to collect. I want you to realize that there's a lot under this baseball card collecting umbrella that you might not have known about in the past. So let's discuss what I collect. I primarily collect from the years 2000 to 2014. I always thought that was because of Mike Trout and Mookie Betts. They're the specific players that I like. But then I take a step back and I realize it's probably a bigger thing. I think it's because I like those years. There's a lot of nostalgia for me as I was born in 1995. And so when I was 10 to 15 years old, that's from 2005 to 2010, I really enjoyed collecting in that era. I think my very first box of cards was a 2003 Topps basketball blaster box. So I didn't pull LeBron, but I did get a Carmelo Anthony, and that's what got me hooked to collecting. And so I really like this era because of the unique design and the unique landscape that was created in the early 2000s all the way until the mid 2010s. You had unique designs. You had a very good crop of players and Hall of Famers and rookies, whether you had Ken Griffey Jr., Derek Jeter, a bunch of great players at the end of their career and in the middle of their career, the early 2000s, as well as rookies like Zach Greinke, Albert Pujols, Ichiro Suzuki, all in the early 2000s. And then you have Mike Trout, Mookie Betts in the early 2010s, and so forth. So I enjoy the players. I enjoy all the different unique players that people kind of look over that will be recognized someday soon. And so because of that, I've always focused on them. But it's more than that. I enjoy the different brands. I like that Upper Deck is there. I like that Don Russ is there because these brands helped push the hobby forward to where it is now because a lot of ingenuity has happened from 2000 until today. And a lot of that happened. You can look at 2003 Upper Deck basketball, for example. When that came out, that was a $500 box and that was insane because it was so expensive and the cards were all crazy. But nowadays, if you want an average hobby box, it's $500. But that box changed the hobby, whether good or bad in your opinion. I do also enjoy the designs of those cards. In particular, you can see these 2011 Topps Finest, how they're very unique in comparison to what we have today. A lot of the cards kind of look the same, and the designs in the 2000s is very different than what you saw in the 1990s to the 1950s. They've all had their own look, and I just really am attracted to what we have here. The actual parallels are significantly lower as well, so if you look at a specific set like Topps Chrome from the early 2000s, there might only be 5 or 6 parallels at maximum, while Topps Chrome now has 25 different parallels, so it made it a little bit more special to have a refractor or a numbered card. And as a kid, I gravitated toward those cards because they were so rare and truly fit the category of a rare card. On top of that, I've just always enjoyed chasing the cards I couldn't afford as a kid, and it has really become a part of my collecting. Yes, I do venture out to Juan Soto every once in a while, but yes, my love will always be from the year 2000 to 2014. Please, if you have a different collecting style than what's been mentioned in this video, please comment down below how you collect and why you collect the way that you do and what makes your collection special. I want this video to focus exclusively basically on what cards we just like to look at in our spare time.
What's going on, everyone? My name's Mike O, longtime YouTuber, longer time collector who enjoys all aspects and eras of the hobby. But my primary focus, team collecting. The team I collect, the Philadelphia Phillies. Why? Because it's fun, and that's what the hobby is about. It's about enjoyment. I'm someone who grew up watching, listening, and attending Phillies games from the age of 5 on, with my dad, with my brothers, with my friends. And that builds nostalgia, and that helps build passion. And having a passion for a hobby and a passion for a team to this day really enhances the hobby experience. How you team collect is going to be an individual choice. For me, I like to get as many examples from different sets as possible. Now, the Phillies have a really long history. They've been around over 135 years, so I have plenty to choose from. Plenty of pre-war, which is really challenging, really difficult to find, plenty of vintage, and of course, like everything, new modern cards every day. But you can collect different players from different eras and have a good time, different varieties of cards. Of course, you can chase rainbows of players or maybe a full rainbow from a set, or you can just pick up the cards you like. And that's the good thing about collecting is it's up to you. It's all about enjoying the hobby and enjoying the experience of collecting baseball cards, whether it be of a Hall of Famer like Mike Schmidt, a potential Hall of Famer like Bryce Harper, or just a fan favorite from your youth like John Kruk. You can have a good time. You can enjoy collecting because you got to love what you collect and collect what you love.
I'll go ahead and talk with basically my genesis of collecting as an adult, at least. The most memorable parts would start with obviously my favorite player, Jose Canseco, getting every card imaginable that I could of his, right? And eventually, it just wasn't something for me to get every single card. I found what really appealed to me was to get only the cards that I really, really wanted, that I truly loved. In fact, right now, as far as Canseco cards go, I only have about a couple hundred of them, as opposed to the 5,000 plus I had before. And I'm very satisfied and content with them. That method of collecting, to go for just the pieces that I love, has carried through pretty much all of my collecting habits through any type of hobby that I have. More specifically in vintage cards, I don't just go after anything that's vintage. In fact, if somebody says, oh, I've got vintage cards, I've got some stuff from the 60s or the 70s or whatever, I say, well, it's not old enough for me. I specifically like pre-war cards, but not just pre-war cards. I like pre-war cards of top tier players that are graded low to mid and have excellent eye appeal. So I'm very specific on what I collect as far as vintage goes, and really anything. The thing that really appeals to me about vintage is I remember even as a kid getting these price guides or magazines or books and seeing these iconic cards on the cover. And as an adult, I was thinking, man, how cool would it be to actually own some of these? Because to me personally, these cards look like they should be in a museum. And so I think that's really appealing to me. I love the history about it because these are pieces of history, they're pieces of art, all combined into one, especially representing this pastime that we love so much. So that's why I really love vintage. I've always had a knack for collecting vintage and really kind of a desire, even as a kid back in the late 80s, early 90s. I remember when all my friends were going for packs of 89 Donruss and 90 Tops and everything. I did too, don't get me wrong. I love that stuff. I still do. But I was the only one really that was asking the dealer to pull out the 60s and 70s cards. And even if my allowance only allowed me to get a couple cards that were commons, I loved them. And so it's kind of just more the same for me now, except I'm just going for older stuff and maybe a little more pricey.
The way that I collect can probably be broken down into 4 or 5 different categories. First one being the long-term investment plays. And here, to be specific, we're talking about a holding period of 5 to 10 plus years. We're looking at players that are deemed iconic right now and players that I think will be regarded as iconic 5 to 10 plus years down the line. Here we're looking at guys in characters too that I think have long-term investment appeal. So I bring up characters because this is actually the one category that where right now I'm treating it a little bit differently in that I will deviate away from my area of expertise. Area of expertise is modern baseball, but here I will look at basketball, football, Pokemon as well. I'm not just looking at every card of these players or characters. I'm looking at what I think will be important, desirable cards down the line. So the second category is going to be arbitrage. A lot of different types of arbitrage. I could spend a lot of time here. You've got cards that you know really well that are expendable and liquid that you're moving in and out of, where you think that they're undervalued versus the market at that time and maybe overvalued as you move out of them. You've got the grading game. Right now, the grading game is very much in play. All 4 major grading companies are open for business. In time, guys, with arbitrage, this is where I've really evolved. I become very selective with a uptrending market like what we had in 2018, 2019, 2020. You could take as many opportunities as you wanted, but nowadays with the flat and downtrending market that we have, you have to be able to find a buyer of that card really quickly. If not, even if you were right about the arbitrage opportunity being something that was real, that could go against you, right? The market for the card that you have in your possession and the one that you are anchoring it against could both fall and you could lose money even though you're right about the arbitrage opportunity. So in addition to that, one thing that I've started to get better at is understanding the value of capital being tied up, not just in a downtrending market, but there's an opportunity cost to that. You could be putting your money elsewhere. Now I'm looking at probably with these arbitrage opportunities, 6 to 18 months. That's where I'm kind of being realistic about, okay, my money is going to be tied up for this long, so I've really got to make it count. So I end up with arbitrage just trying to seek out a higher expected margin than what I used to. And again, because we're being more selective now I'm also trying to seek out when when I do take advantage of arbitrage opportunities, high quality players and high quality cards too. The category number 3 is hype cycles. So this is something I still do. It's the closest thing that I currently still do to prospecting these days. And in 2021, Wander Franco was the big prospect that was going to get called up. 2022, Bobby Witt and J-Rod were the 2 big prospects coming into the season. So this is where I'm betting on the attention of the hobby more than the performance of the players themselves. Number 4 for me is wax. For those of you who know the RC Explosion box, I do have a subscription product, and that's one of the reasons why I started to buy modern baseball wax 4 years ago and have accumulated so much, and one of the reasons why I still buy it. But in the second half of 2021, I noted some economic uncertainty. There were fears of inflation running extra hot for a prolonged period of time. And this is where a better way to do this would be to buy gold, but that's no fun. Like, let's be real there. Vintage superstars would have been another way to do it. But I picked modern wax. If anything, I figured it would have some sort of diversification benefit against my portfolio. I already owned it, but I wanted to increase the allocation. To be specific, coming into 2021, in January 2021, 40% of my card exposure was in wax. 60% was singles. Going into 2022, in January, that flipped. And actually 70% was in wax, and right now it's even higher than that. Now, there's numerous other reasons why wax is attractive, and also risk factors associated with wax. We're not going to be able to get into that in this video. In the last category, number 5, is going to be the PC. Juan Soto right now is my primary PC. I don't find myself spending a lot of money on Juan Soto because right now I just look at my wallet and I look at the prices of some of these cards and what they're going for. Even though with Juan Soto it's well below the 2021 and 2022 highs for most of his cards, I'd rather own the dollar bills.
Hey everyone, it's Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, also known as Drummond Card Collector on Instagram, here and happy to tell you why I love being a player collector. Now, a big part of it for me is nostalgia. My friends and I, we were all player collectors in our youth. I collected back in the 90s, and I collected Penny Hardaway and Gary Payton among many others. I was trading away all my Kobes and Jordans, unfortunately. When I got back into cards about 4 years ago, I wanted to collect a Detroit Pistons player. Andre Drummond, he was the best player for the Pistons in the 2010s up until that point. Rebound champion, 2-time All-Star, All-NBA, and his cards were extremely inexpensive. I was picking up gold prisms for like $5 to $10. Once I found out that like 90% of his 2018 Optic Rainbow was available on ComC for like a total of $70, I was totally hooked. Being a player collector gives you an opportunity to connect with that player in a different kind of way, and I've been able to build arguably the best Andre Drummond PC in the world. Some people laugh at that, but I've had a lot of fun doing it. And player collectors, we have a sort of natural community with one another, and that's really one of the best parts about the hobby too. We all keep an eye out for rare cards for one another. I think I'm up to like 57 different one-of-one Drummonds now, many of which I wouldn't have had if others hadn't tipped me off to their availability in different places. And that leads me to an important tip. If you're planning on being active on Instagram with your collection as a player collector, make sure that you use the player's name in your profile handle. There are so many guys and gals who have awesome player collections whose accounts I can't recall when I find something obscure somewhere because their profile is so obscure. It's something random like, Card Collector 16, and I can't figure out that they collect a guy like Austin Rivers or somebody. So some of my favorite cards in my collection personally, and you can go visit my Instagram, Drummond Card Collector, to see these. My 2012 Prism Gold rookie card in a BGS 10. I just finally picked that up recently. That was my ultimate chase card. It's probably his best rookie card in my personal opinion. Also, in addition to that, the 2018, 2019, and 2020 Prism Nebulas and Black one-of-ones. I have all 3 of each, and I got this awesome one-of-one orange vinyl Prism custom card that Crazy Custom Cards sent me as an unexpected gift a couple of years ago. Those are some of the highlights from my PC, among many other things. It's really hard to choose when you build up a player collection that you really love. Choosing just a few cards is really difficult, but if you have a great player PC and we're not already connected on Instagram, please be sure to send me a DM there, or if you're interested in seeing how to get started, just drop me a line as well. I'm happy to help. Happy collecting.
All right, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned from these other amazing collectors. Thank you to all of them. I've included all of their social media locations and descriptions in the actual description of this video. Check out their content, check out their videos. They're all great and have a very unique insight into their respective part of the hobby. So if you enjoy what they discussed, follow them because you can hear more content about what they collect. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.